The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on Monday said the Muhammadu Buhari administration is not overwhelmed by the security challenges in the country, as stated by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who said that Nigerians traveling are no longer safe on the road, in the trains and at the airports. According to Lai Mohammed, the federal government is fast-tracking the installation of some security gadgets on railway tracks to ensure adequate surveillance. He said the government is fast-tracking these gadgets to ensure adequate surveillance not just on the Abuja-Kaduna rail track, but also on the Lagos-Ibadan and Warri-Itakpe rail tracks to ensure that at any given time, security monitoring from the control room will be possible. Lai Mohammed further stated, in quotes, the federal government is working towards ensuring that such incident does not reoccur, and claimed that in the space of security challenges, the military and other security personnel are doing their best and have recorded successes in their fight against terrorism. Joining us from our Abuja studio to discuss the insecurity in Nigeria and solutions towards a secure society is Darlington Abdullahi, retired Air Commodore and a former Director, Military and National Strategy at the National Defense College. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. My great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, Air Commodore Darlington Abdullahi. Thank you for joining us. Well, let me ask you.
Dr. Bati.
Yes, thank you for joining us. What do you make of this crisis that we have in this country with regard to insecurity? The roads are not safe. The air travel is not safe. Even the trains are endangered. And yet, in 2019, the federal government talked about a revised national security strategy document and new security architecture and all of that. And that was celebrated. That, oh, this will be the first time in a long while that the national security strategy would be revised. So what happened to the strategy? You know, what happened to the new proposed architecture?
Thank you very much, Dr. Bati again. I'd like to state that we need to, first of all of us, have a better understanding of what security entails. And that is to say that before we begin to apportion blame on when incidences occur, it's important for us to carry out a critical analysis of the particular situation that occurred. This is more important because these things happen at different levels. And there are certain things that have been with us for quite a long time that we have continuously ignored, that is, not making serious efforts to address them. And they grow to become bigger problems for us. And that's exactly what we're beginning to experience. I'll give a typical example. If we look at the family unit, or let me say that, I'll look at it from briefly the family unit, the societal dimension, the armed forces and other security agencies, as well as the political system that we operate. Let me briefly talk about the family unit. We all belong to one family unit or the other. And within the family, we have issues of maybe our children and maybe primary school and secondary school children becoming members of cult groups. And we cannot claim we don't know what this entails and the dangers involved in all of that. We have secondary school children engaged in money rituals. They come home with money that they have not worked for, that they did not earn. We encourage them. We accept some of such monies. We don't report them to the appropriate security agencies to account for where they got such monies from. These are serious security problems. If you look at the societal level, some of these people make this money either from kidnapping, from money rituals and so on, and we embrace them. We give them chieftaincy titles. We make them feel that, well, they've done well, and as such, they can continue doing what they have done to make such monies. These are major issues we need to look at. If you look at the military dimension, or maybe the security architecture dimension, you find that, taking a look at what happened in Afghanistan, you realize that the armed forces of Afghanistan were well equipped, well-trained, well-supported, funded. Yet, at the point of withdrawal of the U.S. forces, that provided all the support they needed, and U.S. forces and their allies, after 20 good years of direct support, the armed forces crashed. It's not as if, the Taliban took over the government. It's not as if the military didn't have what they needed in that case, because some of the best equipment were available to them. But what happened? There were other factors that were ignored. And these are some of the things we're talking about. Issues of national resilience were down to zero. And it was very easy for the Taliban to easily take them out. Now, coming to the armed forces of Nigeria, you realize that the armed forces of Nigeria may not have the very best at the moment. But let us note that they have been under pressure continuously for several years. And when you are under such pressure, wear and tear begin to come in. And when you have such situation as well, it becomes difficult to achieve optimal performance, particularly when the best kind of facilities are not provided and the welfare and so on are not there as well. So these are that's a major factor that we need to look beyond the military itself. That is, like the children I talked about, the family unit, when then there's a fire raging, if you do not take out the source of the fuel to the fire, like they're taking out the firewood or the gas and so on and so forth, the fire will continue to rage no matter how much water you pour on such a disease. So it's important that we begin to think of how to shield the children, how to shield our youth from engaging in all of these criminal activities. And that entails a lot of efforts on our side. That is a multi-pronged dimension, effort that will enable us address issues of patriotism, issues of national cohesion, national unity, and so on, even at the grassroots level, to ensure that they begin to imbibe that national consciousness that will make them think more of the country than another thing, or think of their academic attainments rather than making money quickly. If you look at, look beyond the military, or rather, the military, I would say, in terms of the National Security Strategy 2019 that you referred to, you realize that the document itself has been well articulated, and I'm proud to say that I was one of those that sat to produce that document. I was a member of that committee. It was very well articulated. Virtually all the things we're talking about are there. But the implementation is what we need to look into to ensure that every angle of it is properly implemented. When we can do that, then we'll be able to achieve better results.
So let's talk about implementation,
better results, because even if you
don't have a lot of time, sir. Can I just interject
all the
here?
members of security agencies along the rail line and so on and so forth, without...
Doesn't appear that you can hear me.
Yes, please.
I just need to interject here because we don't have an awful lot of time.
I
wanted to talk more along the lines of solutions because the problems are glaringly obvious and have been discussed, kinetic and non-kinetic solutions and what have you. But what can we do immediately? Because that process of youth reorientation, for example, will take a while. What are the immediate steps that need to be done? You talked about wear and tear amongst the ranks of the military. What needs to happen there? Some kind of recruitment drive? What needs to happen there?
Yeah, we need to think in line of a force multiplier, that is the use of technology to support the military operations. There are systems, surveillance systems that can have about 50 or more kilometer radius operation that will enable the security agencies to see far. And then when this is supported by maybe armed drones and so on, it will be easier not just to take on the criminal elements, but also to monitor their movements. For example, after the attack on the trains and so on, where did they take the people to? And so we needed to be able to monitor, to follow them, and then determine wherever they have taken the people abducted to. And it's only with the aid of technology that this can be achieved. So it is high time we focus more on technology to support the operations of the security agencies.
Is it about technology or about clamping down on people that fund bandits and terrorists. Because if they don't have funding, there's no way they can buy guns and bullets to hurt people. Because to buy a gun is not cheap. To buy bullets, not cheap either. So what are we doing as regards people that fund bandits, terrorists, or whatever we call them?
Thank you very much. I know that the NFIU, National Financial Intelligence Unit, has been trailing or monitoring a lot of the finances of some of these terrorist organizations. And this is a good way to ensure that to find out some of the sponsors of these people and of these criminal elements. And when that is done, they should be prosecuted. Without prosecution, we're encouraging others to join them, to others to do the same thing. So the aspect of prosecution is very important. I mean, that's to say that when people are arrested, even the criminal element, when they are arrested, they should be subjected to serious interrogation that will reveal their sources of weapons, where they get the weapons from, the type of weapons they are using, and of course, the necessity to ensure that some of the suppliers and so on are equally arrested and dealt with. A lot of weapons come into this country from various sources. Various container loads of weapons have been seized by customs at the ports, and with our porous borders, a lot still coming. But these weapons find their way to some of these criminal elements, and when this is discovered, they should, of course, be arrested and then prosecuted. Without prosecution, we cannot get anywhere.
Commodore, I'd like you to comment specifically on the assault on the perimeter fence area of the Kaduna International Airport recently, and also the attack on the Kaduna-bound train from Abuja, which resulted in the death of 8 persons, the hospitalization of about 26, hundreds injured, more than 100 disappearing without trace. I ask you to, I'm bringing that up because the military have been accused of complicity and also of negligence. Because what we were told was that there was prior intelligence that all these attacks were going to happen, and nobody did nothing, apparently. Is that standard operating procedure for the security agencies in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you. Those 2 major incidences are very unfortunate, and we just, also very embarrassing. Embarrassing because, let's look at the airport incidents. Those people came in large number, and were able to access the runway. I think that first and foremost, beyond the armed forces, the security agencies, there are a lot of lapses that have been observed there. That is, how were they able to access that part of the airport? There should have been some perimeter fencing in a way. And apart from that, if we had the surveillance system that is able to detect the movement of those people, even their approach to the airport and so on, they should have been engaged even earlier than that. Intelligence does not just come from nowhere. You need surveillance systems to provide necessary information, particularly when people are engaged in using automobiles, one way or the other, to move around. So with the aid of surveillance system, you can see them. When I say surveillance system, I'm not talking about just maybe putting a helicopter in the air and so on, because of the limitations on the length of time they can remain in the air and so on, the cost implications. But there are drones, there are radar systems, there are other things that can help us to detect the movement of people around the airport and be able to pick them out as soon as they are approaching the red line. The areas that they shouldn't, unauthorized areas, and so on. So this is very important. For the train station, the route is very long. And like I said earlier, if you line up even the security agents along the line, it will be difficult for them to be able to monitor exactly all of this, because if they have noticed in one area, those criminal elements will move to another. So, but with surveillance systems, they can very easily be picked out, and it's important that these surveillance systems are, we focus on getting some of those things to this, because when they attacked the train, it took some time. And if the radar system, surveillance systems were working and then supported by maybe some drones or particularly armed ones, they could easily engage some of those criminal elements. And when they decided to take away some of the passengers, of course, we should be able to monitor the movement of those people. Up to now, we are still looking for those people, some of them. And it's most unfortunate that we rely on human intelligence alone, and that is not adequate. So surveillance systems are very, very important for us to be able to achieve all of this.
Right. A lot has been said about our deficiencies with our security agencies in the area of intelligence. How should that be approached? Are the people feeling more sympathetic to these terrorists, or is it out of just plain fear and a lack of faith in the security agencies? Because there have been reports of, informants being discovered by the terrorists that they informed on, and obviously that's some kind of lapse from our security agencies with regards to confidentiality. And also on the issue of trust, there's the trip of the Inspector General of Police to the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway saying that it's safe for travelers now to go by road, but it doesn't seem to be convincing. How can all of that be addressed?
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, the security agencies have their own limitations in terms of manpower, in terms of weapon systems that will enable them to engage the criminals appropriately. And importantly is the aspect of the widespread nature of the threats that we face today, which necessitates the overall splitting of forces are all around the country and not being able to concentrate on particular threat situations. These are major issues. So the armed forces definitely, I must say, are doing their best one way or the other to ensure that some of these things are addressed. But it's also important that they are well supported. For the Inspector General of Police inspection on the visit to the Abuja-Kaduna highway and the assurances he gave, of course, we know that they were at one particular area, and of course the length of the road is so long that the criminals can emerge from another different angle. And it is difficult for the troops deployed on that highway to cover every length of the road. So it still comes down to the same technology that we're talking about. If you have a system that will enable you to see about 50-kilometer radius, and you have a few of them deployed along that road, particularly at those areas that they have turned to their regular operational areas and so on, that's the criminal elements, then you'll be able to pick out those people, detect their movements all around there, and follow them to their hideouts as soon as some of those things happen, if they ever happen. Particularly being able to pick them before they even get to some of those places. So I think there is where we are now entails just focusing on technology to enhance the operations of all the security agencies, because they cannot be everywhere at the same time.
Well, certainly, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi, says the same thing, but he says he's been finding it very difficult to get access to the sum of 3 billion that his ministry requires. But thank you very much, Commander Abdullahi, for joining us to discuss this very important subject. Thank you very much.